Special thank you to our sponsor, iGenX. iGenX isn't just a small business. It's a powerhouse ally ready to tackle your agency's toughest tech challenges head-on. Specializing in low-code, no-code solutions, advanced analytics, and project management, iGenX is your go-to partner for both federal and commercial projects. But what sets iGenX apart? As a Salesforce Summit-level partner, the company brings unparalleled expertise across the entire Salesforce ecosystem. From MuleSoft and Einstein and Tableau, the expert teams at iGenX don't just build solutions, they engineer them, crafting robust data pipelines and creating stunning visualizations that drive real results. At iGenX, success isn't just a goal, it's a promise. The team is dedicated to delivering measurable benefits that transform your operations. Ready to partner with iGenX? Contact the team at info@igenx.com, spelled info@eigenx.com.
I think the key to that, Alexa, is partnerships. We must continue partnerships. The government itself is a huge machine, right? We never will be, like you said, we never will be at the edge of cutting edge. However, can we be closer? Absolutely. Yeah. Can we get our partnerships going more so that we bring in faster solutions and services to bring to the citizens? Absolutely.
Welcome to GovCom Unfiltered, where your journey through the labyrinth of federal contracting begins. I'm Alexa Choi, your guide and host on this epic adventure. Here, we dive deep into the heart of government contracting, shedding light on the heroic tales of those who navigate its complex terrain. Our mission? To bring you closer to the action, revealing the critical steps, triumphant victories, and occasional pitfalls that our intrepid adventurers face. Your journey into the world of government contracting starts now, and we could not be happier to have you with us. Let's embark on this adventure together. Thank you for tuning in to GovCom Unfiltered. Today our guest is Madiha Latif, and I will hand it to her to introduce herself.
So, Alexa, first, thank you so much for having me. I have to say this before we even start, right? I've been told by my ethics lawyers that I have to say that whatever I speak about today is in my personal capacity and definitely not the views of the federal government, right? Or my organization. So I will leave it at that.
Yeah, we've got that before. This is not our first time hearing it. So thank you for sharing.
Yeah, not a problem. And, and of course, Alexa, thank you for having me here. I'm very excited. And I will just say thank you for always being kind and sharing your positive energy. It is just amazing. I guess just a little bit about myself, right? I am, I'm deeply passionate about what I do as a woman leader, as a veteran, as a person of color in the financial services industry. I work for the Department of Treasury, specifically the Bureau of the Fiscal Service. We do financial management for the entire federal government.
Wow. Okay, you have a list of questions, but I'm going to have to jump off the list right away, of course, because I'm so intrigued by this. You said you're a veteran?
Yes, I'm a veteran. I served 4 years.
Okay.
Yes, I served 4 years in active duty Army right before 9/11. So this was, actually, it was a very different world. And then 1 year in, 9/11 happens. Actually, no, 2 years in, 9/11 happens, and the world has just changed. It's completely different. I was doing inventory management.
Wow, this is really, really interesting. I'm thinking back, like, did I know this about you?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if you knew this about me because I don't know if I, actually say that a lot, right? Because it's yeah. But I think veterans, generally speaking, are we don't like to talk about ourselves, right? It turns out that way. So I don't know, but yeah, I'm a veteran. I served 4 years, and it was definitely a very, very learning, exciting. And, it shaped me who I am today as a leader, as an individual, as a person. So definitely gave me a lot.
Right. I think the leadership piece to it is really interesting, right? The government has, the military has some of the best leadership lessons and structures and frameworks. And when you go through it, you come out of it with so much learning behind you, right? And it kind of, like you said, you can apply it for the rest of your life.
Oh,
It's so,
absolutely, Alexa. It was, let me tell you, right? Like I feel like it was the best experience of my life to not just teach me the basics of life, right? But also of how to lead. And in that, I still remember, and some of my core values is of candor and courage. Like those two things I learned in basic training. Like when I got into basic training, I had to learn that right like day one.
so
And
how much candor were you allowed to do though in basic? Because
not
not
much, but
much,
it was about teamwork, right? It was making sure that you were open and transparent and being
right.
honest and upfront with your comrades, with your platoon mates. It's like if you didn't do that, you weren't moving on. You were always doing push-ups for the drill sergeants.
Right.
Right?
Right. Well, this is fascinating. Cool. Well, I can't wait to like tie some of these questions back into that. So, Department of Treasury, Deputy Assistant Commissioner, Women of Color, super duper leader. I love all these things. And let's go to the Women of Color thing. Since you mentioned it, is your family from India or?
Yeah, so my background, so my dad was from Pakistan and my
Okay.
mom is from Bangladesh. So South Asian, I'm of South Asian descent. And I say this all the time too, right? I'm a first generation immigrant. So I moved to the States when I was 13 years old. It was a very interesting time in my life because I am not fully adult yet, right? Like, but I'm not also a adult, like a young person, right? A young kid. And it really was traumatizing many ways because it was a
I'm sure.
culture shock. It was a culture shock. It was, in language and the way we were, the way just assimilating or just learning and bringing a little
Mhm.
bit of ourselves into
Right.
things. It was a very different time. And we moved to New York and New York City to be specific.
Wow.
Oh,
Wow.
that was quite a shock to the system. But I will say this, one thing, and that's why New York is also very near and dear to my heart, because it's a rough and tough place for sure, but I will tell you, it was also very welcoming. It was,
Right.
I didn't find, I have some of my best friends today are still my friends that I met in high school, right? And it was an amazing time.
What does Jay-Z say? If you can make it here, you can make it anywhere. New
That's
York.
right. That's right. And Alicia Keys, right? New York State of
Yeah,
Mind.
that's my jam. I love it. Yeah, so that's interesting. And because you kind of kicked off my first question already, tell me how, if you immigrated first, what did you say, first gen immigrant,
Yeah.
coming here, New York City, 13 years old, Pakistani, Bangladesh, and you dropped your New York City, actually.
Yeah.
How
Yeah.
did you get to where you are today, Deputy Assistant Commissioner of the Department of Treasury? I mean, holy smokes, there must have been a lot happening in there. Tell us the
Yeah.
story.
Yeah. No, definitely a lot happening. And I think so I'll start with, right? So we get to New York. My high school had a junior ROTC program.
Oh,
And that is what got me excited. And, I was like, oh my gosh, this gives me a feel of community. It gave me like, it made me have friends. And, I liked the structure. I liked very early on, I could see that I need structure, I need organization,
right.
and I am very much about institutions like that was very apparent to me even then. So from junior RCC, I decided to, after high school, I joined the military, active duty army, right? So I spent my time there. And then from there, once I was, after 9/11, I will say it was a little bit of a hard time because I
Oh,
was
yeah.
I was a I was a very fast tracker even in the military. And
Right.
so even in my first enlistment, I was already doing leadership roles, leadership positions. So at that time, I was thinking, okay, well, I could reenlist or I could go ahead and go do something different. And that's when I think I decided for myself, I was like, well, I think I would like to separate from the military and I would like to take that experience and apply it elsewhere. Right.
Mhm.
And so that's what got me into government contracting with defense. So I started doing a lot of different, projects. I started working with SAIC. My first company was a small government contracting company called CBG Inc., which is not even around anymore because it got acquired, right? Like, as you know,
Mhm.
acquisitions happen quite a bit in the
Yep.
contracting world, in the government contracting world. Then I worked with SAIC. Then I got to Booz Allen Hamilton. And then from Booz Allen, I was actually working with a service delivery center and for one of the government clients. From there, I was like, I think I want to move to doing something completely different. At that time, I was getting my MBA.
Uh-huh.
And so the MBA had me looking at, I was doing some different research projects and I started thinking about the government as a whole and said, okay,
Mhm.
DOD is one aspect of it. Defense is
Right.
one aspect of it, right?
Mhm.
Intelligence community is one aspect. There's so much more out there that we could be doing for the public. And I started thinking, I think it's time I want to go back into public service. And I said to myself, how can I take all that I have gained here in the government contracting world? Because I was managing large scale programs, various different kinds, right? And I said, you know what? I love numbers. I was finishing up my MBA, which was accounting and finance management heavy. And that's what got me into Department of Treasury, right? Like there was a
Ah.
position open with the Bureau of the Fiscal Service specifically. And if I may tell you, at that time, I had never even heard of Fiscal Service, right? Like
A
it's a
lot of people
small,
haven't heard of it, honestly.
that's right, exactly. And there's a reason why, right? Because we don't generally think about what is making our country run, right?
Right.
We don't generally think about it like the money coming in, the money
Right.
going out, right? Like
Right.
you're not thinking about even our country needs a budget. It's like
Right. You're
who's
managing the
managing all that?
P&L for the whole budget, the whole government. Yeah.
Right, exactly, right? Like how does that happen? So that's how, I got interested and I started looking for jobs on USA Jobs for Department of Treasury, anything to do with finance, and that's how I got to Fiscal Service. Yeah.
Wow. And then once you were there, you kind of grew into the different
Yes.
roles.
Yes, definitely. Once I got there, I started doing what I do, right? I started
Mhm.
bringing a lot of my experiences and then kind of seeing what things were working, what things were not working.
Right.
And then, I got promoted twice there, right?
Wow. This is such a great story. I love it. I did want to go back in time and talk about how we met, because that's a story. This is
Yeah.
a story. Folks listening, you might know me from my GovCon life. GovCom, as I like to say, GovCom life. I also owned a dance studio, and it was a Blacklight Zumba studio. And well, actually, Blacklight Dance Fitness, because we also had other classes besides just Zumba. But it was such a great place. And you brought up the word community, and that is something that's very near and dear to my heart.
Yeah.
And I think as humans, this community is kind of what we're doing here. And Madiha was one of my students in my studio. And the cool thing about the Blacklight studio was like we would dance with no lights, and this stage was lit up. And if you were wearing white or any other bright color, it would glow. So it was just like the most uniquely fun experience of all time, right, Madiha?
Oh my gosh, Alexa, I'm like busting here, right? Like I'm bursting just thinking about that because I can still today feel the energy
Oh,
that used to be in that room. It
it
was
was
exciting.
awesome.
It was amazing. It was just and we would leave that place drenched, like as if we were in a sauna,
The
right?
workout of your life.
That's right. And I will never forget this. The first day, the first evening I got there, and I was like, wow, this is interesting. This is a little weird, but I'm going to give it a try. And let me tell you, I was hooked. I think I used to follow you guys around wherever you guys went. If there was if there was something happening elsewhere, I used to drive miles and miles to try to figure out where you guys were going.
Yeah, yeah, you were so kind and awesome to us. I had a dance partner as well. His name is Mark Lewis. And Mark,
Yes.
if you ever hear this, really appreciate you too. And I still dance with Mark to this day, if I
Oh,
can.
I know.
Yeah.
If you guys were not as far as for me anymore, trust me, I would be there. Like I almost wish that you guys would do like live sessions.
He's still so fun. I just love him. Yeah, it's funny because Zumba was it really saved me at a hard time. I think dance does that for you. And
Yeah.
dancing is like the answer to the question you've never asked. It's just always going to be there for you. And I really appreciated meeting you in that capacity and then staying in touch with you over time. And then on LinkedIn, when I started the podcast, I was like, I would love to interview Madiha and just learn more about who you are and what you do.
Oh, Alexa, let me tell you. So since then to now, following you and your, just in your journey of things that you have done, I am proud. I am
Oh,
proud. I feel like a proud mama, right? Like I see you, because I see you, you've grown from there, doing all these different things and all the things that you're even gonna haven't even imagined of doing yet, right? And I
thank
know you're
you.
gonna just continue to be on this path of doing amazing things. And
Oh,
I am all there for it. I'm going to be
oh,
following you like a little puppy, just wanting to know how things are going for you, because that's
uh,
exciting.
I
Love to
appreciate it.
see
You're
that.
so kind. I appreciate it. Yeah.
Federal proposals, your voice, less time, exceptional results. Voltron gives you the power of custom language models to reduce proposal development costs by 54% and start to finish submission time by 63%. Voltron is the only AI platform that synthesizes the valuable business development and capture information you obtain to write high-quality, compliant proposal content specific to your company in each solicitation. Stop throwing it over the fence. Schedule a demo today at vultron.ai.
The cool thing about this industry, honestly, is that, when I first got into it, I was kind of like you. I interviewed for the position and I was like, I mean, can I do the job you're saying? Yes. But I've never used the word procurement in my life. I don't even know what it is you're talking about. But then actually kind of like learning what it is and learning how important it is as a taxpayer, as a citizen, and how kind of, I have to just say this. I mean, as much as I love my contracting community, sometimes that bar is set low. How can we do better? How can we be better? Be better stewards of the tax-paying dollars. And it makes me feel like such a staunch patriot. Like just getting
Absolutely. And that's one of the things that, by the way, when I was transitioning from the private sector to back to the federal government, right, as a public servant, it was the same drive, right? How can we be better stewards of the taxpayer dollars? And how can I bring all this efficiency that does take place in the private sector, right?
right.
And all this innovation and this ingenuity that is out there because they have the access, the talent pool sometimes, and things move
Right.
faster, right? How
Right.
can we bring that to the government and try to emulate that?
Right. Let me ask you a question that's not on the list.
Oh,
Now that you brought
okay.
up the word innovation, you just opened up a whole can of worms here. Government isn't really known for being innovative. It's known for being risk adverse, which makes sense, honestly, as a steward of a taxpaying dollar, right? And all the different parts and pieces. How do we continually lean forward on innovation while still maintaining that risk tolerance balance? Do you have any thoughts around that? Like, there's like the whole AI buzzword fancy tool thing, and like
Yeah.
there's just so much out there. Like, how do we make sure that we are on the cutting edge, or even further? I don't know that we could ever be on the cutting edge as the government, honestly. But like, how can we be as innovative as possible while still maintaining that posture?
I think the key to that, Alexa, is partnerships. We must continue partnerships. The government itself is a huge machine, right? We never will be, like you said, we never will be at the edge of cutting edge. However, can we be closer? Absolutely.
Yeah.
Can we get our partnerships going more so that we bring in faster solutions and services to bring to the citizens? Absolutely. I think the other key is going to be in the next 5 to 10 years, we must pay attention to our workforce. Do we
Right.
have an aging workforce within the federal government? If you want innovation to keep going, you gotta build that, right? That workforce, that talent pool. And how are you going to do that? By trusting your junior, your mid-level folks.
Right.
You have to get them more involved. You gotta give decision rights. You gotta give them autonomy. You gotta give them the decision rights to be able to do all this, right? And make them feel like they're part of the solution, and not just make them feel, but let them action it out. And I think that's how you keep them, right? And then that's how you develop them, nurture them, create an environment where we're going to nurture all these people, all these young people that are so idealistic. They're so ready to just, you know, they want to help. You don't understand how many people I meet that are college students or about to be college grads, and they're just like, how can I help? Right? And then they come into the government and then they see the red tape or the slowness or the lack of sometimes vision, right? Because I think as government would have, right, a lot of us get mired down into the compliance, the regulations, the the governance. All of that is great. But in order for innovation to continue, in order for innovation to happen, you gotta allow or create a space, so to speak, where your talent, the ones that are creative and want to do these kind of things, right, can thrive. And so we will have to work on that.
Yeah, I talked about this on a podcast, not mine, but a different one. Somebody was interviewing me about AI, and that was the part of the talent struggle because, you know, honestly, you can make more money not working for the government. I mean, that's just a known fact, right?
Yeah.
And so, you know, you've got AI developers, you've got the younger folks, you've got the hands-on AI ML coders, you know, the cybersecurity talent, and it's just like really easy to be enticed outside of the government. But the thing is, like, how do we flip that, right? How do we flip that script?
And we flip that because one of the things I think OPM is looking at is I think it's part of their workplace of the future initiatives and things like that. What they're looking at is, okay, what do we need to do with the pay structure? There's a lot of innovative things that OPM, right, has been putting in place for the federal government to be able to use, like things like looking at hiring authorities, and can we bring them, bring people in faster? Maybe the pay bands need to change. Right? Things like that, I think the government has to continue looking at. The other thing I will say, Alexa, is we as a government also have to do a better job of going out, because not everybody's motivated by just the money, right? Sure, some are, right? Talent will go, oh, they can make so much more if they went to Silicon Valley, for example, right? But there's a lot of people that want to serve, that they are servants at heart, right? That they want to serve, they want to be good, stewards of the taxpayer dollars. They want to make citizens' life better. And I think we need to reach out and look for those. That's the outreach I think we need to do, and get them to come work with us.
Yes. One of the more impressive, exciting programs ever, I remember when the government stood up the U.S. Digital Services.
Yes.
I thought that was such a good idea. Like, why not go out to Netflix and Google and Silicon Valley and all these impressive companies and pitch to them, like, come work for 2 years on detail and help out, like, the VA and, like, all these big important programs. Bring your technical skills and help level up, right? And, I mean, execution of it was, on some programs, maybe it's hard to execute that, but like, what a good idea, right?
Oh, absolutely. And I think, we can do, and maybe, right, something to think about as government workers we could do is, we don't have to have one large, big program, right? Digital service was great, and that was supposed to be like a big, large program, right? But maybe smaller aspects of that could be within each of the federal agencies. Yeah. Why not? Yeah. Right? When you asked me this question, I started with saying that partnerships are going to be important. And this is that example of, right? Let's make sure that we have good partnerships in place so that we can bring these people in even smaller scales and embed them in the different agencies.
Yeah. One of the more exciting things I think it can happen in the future, I just think, like, what can we do? It's not going to cost a lot of money, but that's going to be really effective for change, would be like interagency operations, right? And one of our panels for our upcoming event is going to be interagency information sharing.
Oh,
but
wow.
I think about it, like, what if some of the folks that are younger, in that younger age, could mentor other people and also be mentored by people in other agencies, right? So that way the talent is being shared across different agencies. Like, there's different ideas.
I love that. And Alexa, I wouldn't be surprised if there is some kind of interagency happening.
Probably.
But I'm sure there is some happening. I just wish we were able to start bringing that up and broadcast it, right?
Right.
Like, what if there was like this central place of, what if there was a little bureau of interagency operations that looked at, right, that looked at the whole entire federal government and said, okay, we know all these different agencies, we know what their missions are, and now let's go ahead and bring one or two people from each of these, and let's create something. And then
Yeah.
this way, right, this way everybody is kind of, at least we'll have more knowledge of what this big behemoth we have, right?
Yeah. It's like a scrum of scrums. I mean, absolutely. I love it. I think it's a
You know
great idea.
what, you know what I'm loving about this question that you asked was the what if. I love, like, can we just have a session on all the what ifs that we can do?
Yes, I love it. We just created a new federal agency.
That's right, we sure did.
I love it. Well, let me ask you this question. So you started your career on the contracting side. You spent a long time in federal service. And what does the future look like? Would you ever be enticed back to the government contracting side? Or do you think you're going to finish your career out in government? Or like, what does the future look like for you, Madiha?
Yeah, absolutely, Alexa. Thank you so much. You know, I am definitely very open, right? Because one of the things I think I mentioned to you in my journey so far has been that it's been a zigzag because of the fact that I want to bring all the things that I learn
Right.
to another organization, to another level, right? So I learned things in the military that I brought to the private sector. Then I learned things in the private sector that I brought to the public sector. Now in my role within the public sector, I've learned even more, right? So
Right.
this experience that I have gained, I would be very open and definitely very, very much interested in bringing it back so that we can continue this, you know, the what ifs that we were just talking about, right? Because the more you learn, the more experiences, the more different experiences that you have, I feel like you can do more with. So absolutely, I would be open to that for sure.
Awesome. Well, like you were saying about me, I as well will be watching from the sidelines. Like, where is she growing today? What is she changing? What is she influencing? How is she helping? Very excited to see kind of where your journey goes. And this is an exciting time to be alive, right?
Yeah.
The whole AI thing changed the game. Like we were all, tied up in our big data and our, different challenges and problems and digital transformation, whatever that means,
Mm-hmm.
doing our
Mm-hmm.
things. And then OpenAI was like,
Right.
like,
And you know, on that, Alexa, I will say I will never forget this. I still have the book and I may even bring it out, dust it off a little bit. But almost 10 or 12 years ago, I got this huge book. It says big data. Big words, it says big data. 12 years ago, I think I bought this book. And it's like, you know, talking about documenting kids' lives, right? Like with the social media and this. I look at that book now and I'm like, just like you said, AI mic drop, like
mic
big
drop.
data here, way past that.
Way past that.
Way
Yeah.
past.
And it's funny, like behind the scenes, data is the MVP, right?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
in order for any of it to work right or work well, or data has to be the data stewardship, data
Right.
cleanliness, data, all the data things have to be there. But yeah, we've moved fast and it's moving so fast. And this is probably the first time in my 20-year career in GovCom that I feel like, we're now moving at a faster pace than, because I remember bring your own device was a thing, right? And
Yeah.
the government broke our heads over bring your own device for years. Like, oh my gosh, people are going to bring their cell phones. Oh no, do we have a mobile device management thing? And like, it was like a years long conversation, but I just feel like we've moved so fast in the last 2 years or whatever it was since OpenAI came on the scene that like, what's going to happen in the next 2 years? Like, it's hard to
Oh,
even predict.
right. Absolutely. This pace, the speed
Yeah.
of, you know, things that the speed of technology has always been fast. But now with AI, I feel like the speed of information sharing and, you know, what we can do as even humans is just
Yeah.
going to accelerate even further. And another reason why I think when you asked the innovation question, I thought that was really good because we must we must make fundamental basic changes to the way we operate if we want to keep up with that pace.
And not only on the government side, I have to say the contractor side as well, because especially since a lot of the government contractors have stood up their entire operations to be government contractors, right? So they align to the processes of the government, whether it's the procurement process or whether it's operating process or any of those other things. So if we expect on the contractor side, the government to move faster, do better, we also have to on the contractor side.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with you because again, partnerships, right? We may end up mirroring each other, but the reason why we would go to the contractors is not because I want you to be like me. We're coming to you because I want you to bring to me what I can't bring to myself. And that is the ingenuity, the speed, the innovation, the talent. You have that.
Right. Yeah, no, I love that. Oh, this actually dovetails really nicely into my next question. It's also one of my spiciest questions of the day. I love it. What is your contractor pet peeve? What have you seen contractors do? And I ask this because I'm always thinking like, how can we improve as the contractor community, right? So what has been your pet peeve and how can we get better?
Alexa, I don't have many because I love our contractor workforce because like I said, it's very important. So I want to make sure we have good relationships.
Yeah, for sure.
Right. Especially when having been on both sides of the fence as a contractor and a government customer, sometimes we're not good about giving clear directions. I will own that, right? We as government, I think we do a very poor job sometimes. So I will say that. But generally, one of my contractor pet peeves has been the lack of clarity. And what I mean by that is I find it really frustrating when things are made to be so high level that, you bring to me something that is so high level that I just can't get it to execute. It almost feels like you took what I gave you requirements, and then you just gave me those requirements without giving me these actionable outcomes that I could execute upon. Right. Don't just give me a recommendation and then, and then just leave it at that. Give me a little bit more because I think that's where we need the help. We need the help. Give us the exact steps because let's face it, in the government, sometimes one of our best or strengths is the execution of things. Like we can go ahead and move things. Right. But what we sometimes lack is, well, what would it take? What are the exact steps that we need to do? Right. Because then we get married down to that and we're like, oh my gosh, now we got to come up with the steps. What are the steps? What are
the steps? Who's going to do it? How are we going to do it? What's the timeline?
And how many people? Oh my gosh, now I got to bring more people. I have to do operations, right? I'm running the collections, non-tax and tax system. How am I going to do? So lack of clarity. Bring us clarity, please. Like always, be very, very specific and, be very, very action outcome oriented. And then the second one is a little bit inefficiency. And what I mean by that is I will say I really value like productivity, right? And so I consider my primal duty to be a good steward of taxpayer dollars. We've talked about this, right? So when processes are inefficient or time is wasted unnecessarily, I think that's my pet peeve. And that usually happens because the first one has not been met, which is the clarity, the lack of clarity, right? And so if you need more clarity from me, let's ask it ahead of time. You're not, right? I'm going to give it to you. But not having those two things is definitely a pet peeve.
Yeah. I feel like a lot of what you just said, you could teach a whole MBA class around that.
Absolutely.
Yeah, because it's like setting expectations. What is the deliverable you're looking for? What is the definition of done? Like your as is, your to be architecture, like what are the steps in between? Yeah, you could teach a whole class around that. But, and you know what? It's really the crux of effective communication and delivery, right?
Yeah. And I will just say, it's just something that also just came to me because based on our conversation, right? Don't be afraid to bring me ideas. Right? Don't be afraid to bring me ideas. Bring me ideas. Bring your crazy out of the box ideas, right? And then let me figure out if that is something that we can do or not do, but bring me all of it, because that's the value I feel government contracting brings to the government.
Yeah. Yeah, perfect. I love it. Wow, time is flying. I'm going to jump into our last two questions that I ask everybody. So what two pieces of advice would you have for somebody looking up to you and your journey?
Yeah, firstly, Alexa, I would say I would advise someone new looking up to me, and my role is to prioritize continuous learning and personal growth. Especially,
Okay.
we talked about this, right? In today's
Yeah,
fast-paced, ever-changing world, staying relevant and adaptable is like the key to success. So
absolutely.
whether it's pursuing additional education, seeking
Mhm.
out like new experiences, or proactively seeking feedback, I am
Yeah,
big on getting feedback, and
right.
investing in your own development
Mhm.
will not only just like enhance your skills, but also your position for your future, right?
Right.
And then secondly, I would emphasize to people the importance of building strong relationships and fostering collaborative mindset. And because I do feel that success in leadership roles often hinges on your ability to connect with others. If you are not able to connect, inspire trust, or cultivate a supportive team, right? It almost like will get you nowhere, so to speak.
Yeah.
Um,
I always say if you're a leader and if you look behind you and you don't have anybody following you, you're basically taking a walk, man. You're not a
that's
leader.
that's right. And leadership comes at all levels, right? Like
Yeah.
you don't,
Yeah.
I mean, you could be individual contributor and you're still
Right.
leading because you're bringing different people together. I would also say that ultimately, like my advice, right, boils down to never stop learning,
Yeah.
growing, and always prioritizing your relationships and, collaboration. Also, live in your truth and passion.
Ooh,
What
I
feels
think you
right?
could write a whole book, Madiha. That's so much good advice. I love it. I love that. Live
Well,
your truth and your passion. I love it.
Alexa, I will say this. One thing I have learned is I'm often told my feedback over my career has always been, you have passion, Madiha. You are a little too passionate sometimes. I've been told that many times, right? And my answer to that is I'm passionate because I care.
Right.
I'm passionate because I really want to make sure it works. And
Right.
I believe at the end of the day, I'm believing in doing that thing. That's why I'm passionate about it. And what I look for when I am looking at people is, do they have passion?
Right.
Because I cannot cultivate that. Like,
Yeah.
I cannot do that for you, right? I cannot make somebody be passionate.
Right.
So I can reel you in, but I can't throw you out, right?
Right.
So passion is incredibly important.
I think it's a hard one though, Madiha, because like you either have it or you don't. Yeah, it's like you cannot light a match with you can't light a fire with a wet match, right? So
Absolutely. Right. And that's why you should live in it, right?
yeah,
That's why you should, because you have to, and passion is also something that's very tangible, right? Because you
right.
can feel it. You're either
Yeah.
passionate about it or you're not. And if you're not, you better start moving and doing something different, because passion is something that you have to nurture, right?
Right.
If you don't do that, it's going to die. You
Right.
just said it, right? It's like it's either it's lit or it's not. And
Either
if
is
you
not.
let the flame die,
Yeah.
all is
Yeah.
lost.
All is lost. Yeah, no, I totally agree with you. And we like it to be lit.
Yeah.
Okay, last question. What do you consider to be your superpower? I have a feeling I might know your answer to this. What do you think is
You know what?
your
I want you to tell me. I want you to tell me.
I think you're gonna say something about your extreme passion, which is awesome. If that's what you were gonna say, I would say that I agree with you on that superpower.
Close enough, Alexa. But I think all of that, I think dovetails at the end of the day to passion. But as I was thinking about this, right, I think my superpower would be my ability to effectively communicate and build strong relationships. That is something that's paramount to what I do, right?
Yeah.
I have a knack for connecting with others. And I
Mhm.
think that's because the underlying passion that I bring to each of my conversations, right? I want everybody to know that I care and I'm present with you in that conversation. So
Mhm.
I feel like I can connect with people, their needs, and really, navigating the complex interpersonal dynamics, I don't find that hard at all. I am very at ease in trying to figure all of that out. And I believe I have a talent for clear and empathetic communication, right? I feel that it sometimes helps me inspire trust and foster this environment of collaboration, which then allows me to drive positive outcomes. And of course, I ultimately, think that superpower is all about the ability to bring people together.
Right.
And that is definitely one of my strengths of bringing people together, having or facilitating like meaningful connections and creating a supportive environment where everyone else feels valued, empowered. I want people that talk to me. I want them to feel like they're heard and that, I am there with them every step of the way.
Madiha for president 2024.
Well, I don't think that would work only because I'm a naturalized citizen.
Hey, it's better than our options right now.
Oh, there you go.
Madiha, catch us next time on GovCom Unfiltered for our next guest. Thank you so much for your time today. It's been such a pleasure talking to you.
Alexa, it's been absolutely wonderful, and I look forward to doing and seeing you do all the good things. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely.
As we draw the curtain on today's chapter of GovCom Unfiltered, I want to thank you for joining us on this remarkable journey through the intricate world of federal contracting. I'm Alexa Choi, and it's been an honor to navigate these stories of courage, innovation, and resilience with you. Until we meet again, keep pushing boundaries, exploring new horizons, and making your mark in the government contracting universe. Farewell for now, but not forever. Stay tuned for more adventures that await in the next episode of GovCom Unfiltered. Safe travels on your path to greatness, and remember, we are all on this journey together.